Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
If you're a fan of comic books and comic book conventions, Daytona Beach Comic Con needs to be on your list of must-attend events. It's a show that actually focuses on comic books. Imagine that! This year's event is happening on Saturday, September the 6th, and Sunday, September the 7th. Silverline creators will be there, so we'll see you at the show. There's a new convention in town, and it's sure to be mega fun without the mega expense. Comics, toys, collectibles, pop culture. ShadowCon, Saturday, February 1st, 2025, in Orlando, Florida. Silverline creators will be there, so we'll see you at the show. If you find yourself in the Orlando area, and let's be honest, doesn't everyone come to Orlando for the House of Mouse? Head over to Coliseum of Comics to get your comic book fix. Be sure to check out their location on East Colonial Drive, where they carry a wide selection of independent comics, including Silverline books. Stop by and don't forget to tell them Silverline sent you. Hey, if you're an independent comic creator looking to get your comic printed, look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our comics and do a fantastic job. They can even print special edition covers. When you reach out to them, be sure to tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kelber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
There we go. We are back. Hello, Internet. Welcome to the first Tuesday show of the year, 2025. And we finally have a new intro that features Ron.
Yay! I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah, and I need to talk with Roland.
Didn't like your headshot?
You know what you're doing? I gotta try that.
No, it's not the headshot. No, it's the name.
I wasn't even really. Oh, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't read it.
Apparently I'm from Rio now.
Yes. All right. This is That's One Show on Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim TK, and I'm joined, as always, by Ron Fortier.
Howdy. Hope everybody had a great holiday and is ready for what's coming ahead in 2025. Yes. One of the things we're going to talk about tonight, right? We've got a new title kicking off from Silverline, which I know Tim is personally involved with and will tell us a lot more about.
Yes. And Pops is actually asking for the link, and I almost put the invite to the podcast. I mean, Pops, if you want to join, you're always welcome to. But that's right. I think this is more the link you're looking for. But also joined by David Rios.
Howdy.
David Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Jose Fuentes.
I don't know that guy. Hi, everyone.
I don't think there's a city that works with Fuentes, but I
don't know.
One never knows.
You never know. Yeah.
Right.
Probably somewhere. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll make it up as we go. It's all right.
There we go. Yeah. So I have been brushing up on my Spanish, so I can tell that was That was some malarkey. Well, yes, we do have a new comic launching tonight. The links have been put in the chats. Campaign will be going live at 8:30. We will be getting to that in our housekeeping, which we will get to right now, actually. Over there. This is Wolf Hunter number 2, my first book through Silverline. I guess second issue of my first series. A World War II spy series. I liken it to Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy meets Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We tried to do a little bit with every type of transportation that was popular during World War II, as well as put a bunch of spies, liars, and cheats in one room together and see who walks out alive. We do have a trailer. I don't remember if I recorded this or if it was Roland. We'll find out together. The audio might not be playing.
That's another thing I noticed on the intro is there's no audio on that one either. I don't know if it's just intended or what the deal is with it.
So. It's a text only trailer. There is like background music, but I think Roland is aware of our recent audio issues. Has made it text driven.
But that just means you have to narrate it. And like, in a world where.
In a world. It is. That is Wolf Hunter number 2, an alternate history take on the Tizard mission, featuring kind of a secret history of an actual event that happened. Of course, you do have all the standard perks. $7. We'll get to your solo issue if you want so. Or if I get the shiny foil cover, that is $15. And any additional perks such as our catch-up tier. You can collect all 3 covers, as well as get some very nice original art covers by the illustrious Dean Zachary. Tommy did the inks on that as well, so you can get both their work. And I think that is still broken, so that's some fun with the website. And we do have previews of some of our interior pages. Like I said before, we do have a new artist and inker on the team, but colors are still done by the fantastic Martin Verturlin. He and I share a love of Euro comics. And so if you've read any sort of Euro comics from sort of the 80s onwards, you know that they have kind of those hi-fi colors, lots of pastels, very emotive palettes. And so there's a lot of color splashing and use of color and light rays in ways that you don't necessarily find in American comics, which I think really adds to it being a British story. And so I'm very happy with it. I'm super excited for people to get their hands on it. We'll probably be talking off and on about World War II stuff, spy stuff throughout the night. What's it like writing historical stuff? And then over the month, we'll get more into kind of the Tuesday shows, bread and butter, being more educational focused while also talking about things specific to Wolf Hunter. So the link is in the chats. It's going to be plastered all over social media. I'm going to put up my Blue Sky, Instagram, and Discord tonight. Once the campaign issue is live, we'll check in with that at 11:30. That's going to be 8:30 our time as it actually goes live. So enough about me. Let's pop on over to Ron. How did you spend your Christmas break there?
Okay. Basically, I mean, the weather was nice during the winter break. We were talking, before we got the show going about how winter is now here. But both Christmas and New Year's here in Fort Collins was pretty mild weather, which was really great for people going out and whatever. We had a small, intimate little family Christmas. Myself, my wife, my son and his daughter, and our two grown-up grandkids came over Christmas Day and celebrated and had a great time. Then New Year's pretty much the same thing. The kids went out. My wife and I just basically watched the ball drop on television and the same kind of stuff that we generally do. But being a comic book writer, you got to know that eventually most Christmases I end up with something comic related. So hang on for a second. I have to show you this.
Okay.
This was my Santa gift this year.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Full screen there.
Yeah,
That's
Captain
incredible.
America is one of my favorite comic heroes.
Yeah.
So I got to find a place for that on the office wall, right? But yeah, that was a nice surprise, and I really appreciate it. I've got some original art on some of the walls around here from some of my comic characters, and overall, like I said, it was a fun holiday. It was really, really an enjoyable, maybe a little kickback, relaxed kind of holiday from what has been a really busy 2024. In fact, just yesterday, Rob Davis and I did a podcast from our own publishing house, Airship 27, talking about the fact that we actually released 25 pulp titles in 2024. Nice. So that, aside from the artwork Rob does for Silverline and my own comic book project with Silverline and other companies. So it was such a fast, productive year, but having that week of Christmas and New Year's to just sit back, enjoy the family, and have a little bit of a mixed drink here and there and watch some football games and just have a nice holiday.
Very cool. That sounds great. Jawbone in chat mentioned they're jealous of your Captain America artwork. It's very great. Okay, let's head on over to Jose. How was your break?
Just pandemonium. I got like 87 kids, and I do have a lot of kids. But my son came home from college, so it was nice to have him home. But the entire, he had from Thanksgiving until New Year's off, so almost the entire time he was sick. So he didn't go nearly as much as he wanted to. But Christmas for my family, because when me and my wife got married, we really didn't have a whole lot. So we tend to save up money and do Christmas for the kids on Christmas. And then when tax time rolled around, because again, I have 87 kids. And so we'd get a bunch of tax money back. That's when my wife and I would buy something for each other, right? So we did pretty good for the kids, got them a few things here and there. My sister-in-law came down from Indiana and got to spend time with my nieces, and just overall, it was just a really great family time. You know what I mean? Just spending time together, and that's really about it. And as for New Year's, we really don't do a lot either. My wife and I aren't really to go out and party kind of people, so we've always did New Year's with the kids, and the kids would stay up as best they can when they were younger, and now they almost make it past us. Just stay up, just do simple stuff. One of our family traditions is to watch Ice Pirates on New Year's Eve. It's it's from 1982. It's a 1982 Robert Urich movie, like a sci-fi movie, but it's got Ron Perlman in it, got Angelica Houston in it. It's just one of the Carradines, David Carradines, I think, is in it. But yeah, it's something me and my brother used to watch on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, because that was his birthday, so we always wanted we're gonna watch Ice Pirates together. So been doing that for 30-some years, like Ice Pirates on New Year's Eve, and then playing games with the kids, just having fun. It's a little more low key this year because my wife, a mom that was about to go into labor, but for the most part, just again, spend family time, just a lot of family time as much as we could.
Right Nice. Okay. And David, how was your break?
Pretty uneventful. Just went through and caught up on a lot of errands and stuff like that. Trying to avoid the day job.
Yeah.
But got sucked in a little bit. But like I said, trying to avoid as much as possible. Kind of split up because I alternate with another person to cover our company, so we had to make sure that when one was out, the other one. So it kind of got split. Some days off, some days on.
Nice.
But overall, interesting. I did some work and on this stuff, on the comic stuff, and got to read some different books and things like that. So it's kind of spread around. I bought my wife a early present, a Lego, the Starry Night set, and
Van Gogh?
yeah, Van Gogh Starry Night
Nice.
set, and decided to get her one of the lighting kits. So we spent Christmas Day. She was building that, over Christmas Day, and a couple days around that, just building up. And then she got to the light kit, and then I'm like, all right, well, let's start doing this. Never done a light kit before, and it turned out really, really nice. It's really cool. A lot of the stars light up, and the buildings and the steeple and everything. So if you want to go get it, I'll show you really quick. Well, but yeah, that's pretty much a lot of what I did. I read some of the Absolute books, some good stuff. The Batman, I really enjoyed the Batman. There was some other ones with the Wonder Woman and Superman. So stuff those were pretty cool. Yeah, and yeah, she's bringing it over here.
Nice. Well, I guess David gets a good
Don't drop it.
full screen.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Oh, cool.
That is really, wow. That is awesome.
See all the stars light up, and
Yeah.
the steeple. There's lights, and
Wow. That's beautiful.
and
That's
it's
insane.
very 3D.
Oh, yeah.
So the frame
Wow.
and everything. So yeah, that's what she worked. Oh, and there's Van Gogh.
Nice.
Right.
So
Oh,
she enjoyed
That
it.
is real cool.
It's
That
one of
is
her
really,
favorite
really cool.
things, and she has a Star Wars Starry Night shirt. Has a stormtrooper and all that stuff.
Naturally,
So
yeah.
it's one of her favorite things. So it was a very good gift, and she really enjoyed building it. So it was awesome.
Okay, well, I am in the process of putting out all my promotional pieces for my School Funner on social media, so I will talk about that in a second, since that seems to be a thing that a lot of writers need to talk about more, is how do you actually put stuff out on social media, since not a lot of people do. But I'll share what I did with my break, which was finally transitioned into my new job, which I have been very much appreciative of and enjoying after spending several months out of the workforce. And reading a lot of old storylines that I kind of missed up. So right now I'm reading through Loki, Agent of Asgard, and some of the stuff from Original Sin. And spending too much time on Marvel Rivals, which you can follow that on my Twitch.
Yep.
It's been a very good game. But yeah, that's kind of been my break as well. I can't think of too much else of note that really happened. Just a lot of time with the partner, a lot of time at home, and a lot of time reading. So so enjoyable.
And anybody been to the local cinema during the holidays?
Not
Yes.
too recently, no, but yeah.
Okay.
We went and caught the Bob Dylan biopic,
Okay, yeah.
A Complete
Very
Unknown.
good. And
It's excellent. It is really, really well done. Yeah, I'm always taken with that kind of stuff. Timothy Chalamet plays Dylan, and he does it like born to play him. All right, and if you're my generation age, all right, I mean that brought back so many memories. All right, I mean the 50s and 60s, and that transition. That's basically what the movie is. The basic plot of the movie is Dylan comes along and hooks up with Pete Seeger during the whole folk music era in this country in the 50s and 60s. You know, things like Hootenanny and folk festivals and all that kind of stuff. And that's where he makes his mark originally as a songwriter. But as the movie progresses, after he's become popular for about 10 years or so, there's this idea that he's just spinning his wheels, that he wants to do more than just write folk music. He wants to do other kinds of songs. All right, he got into this whole protesting the war, revolutionary movements, and all this good stuff, and his music wanted to reflect that. And so it gets to the point where there's this chafing between all the folk song people who supported him and brought him up there, and they feel like he's betraying them, et cetera, et cetera. But in the end, it's a case of, if you're any kind of a creator, you have to do what you believe is the truth, what's the truth to you, and what your art is all about. And that's pretty much what that whole shift in music by the end of it, which he pretty much brought about in his own way. So it's an excellent film. And I'm always taken because we can do, era pieces, like you can do Westerns, or you can do, fantasy, medieval stuff or whatever, and get those time periods so. But there's nobody alive who's going to criticize you if you get anything wrong. But man, when you do an like century kind of period piece, you're doing the 50s and 60s. Well, I mean, there are people still around who are going to look at the clothes and look at the automobiles and look at the food and everything else and go, that's wrong. That didn't exist. That wasn't there, whatever. So kudos to the production company, because believe me, it's like the movie's like a time trip back to the 50s and 60s. And I recommend it highly. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I've been reminded that I did go to see Wicked, but I feel like I did that back in November, so prior talked about it. I've been meaning to go down and see the new Nosferatu. Jose's shaking his head aggressively.
I think
anybody on here that's watched any of our streams knows that I love gothic horror, like classic Dracula, Frankenstein stuff, Phantom of the Opera, Universal Monsters, stuff like that. I love gothic horror. There is a point where it goes from being a gothic horror story to I honestly wanted to leave the theater. It was garbage to me. That's real sad, because I loved it. I loved the classic. Even my son loves the classic black and white Nosferatu. And both of us were like, I did like the take on how they made Count Orlok look. I thought that was really cool, like a very different take, like a very more regional look than how he was, in the classics and whatnot. But after that, it was just like, there were a lot of scenes. I don't want to like dissuade people, but there are a lot of scenes I'm like, this is not necessary. This does not further the plot. This does not further the story. This is just shock and awe and whatnot. And I was just, I don't like that.
See, I think that might be like a difference of taste then, because especially when it comes to things like horror, I'm a fan of the shock scene, so that might be more for me than others.
Well,
but
what I'm seeing. what I'm seeing and reading about this film is pretty much it splits people right up the middle. All right, like Jose here. Okay, I've read some really negative reviews. You know, some online on YouTube and whatever. All right, I mean that basically have their arguments and critiques. And yet last week I hooked up with a friend of mine here in town. And she does one of these little horror shows on community television. She loves horror films, right? And so we were talking. She says, "Oh, I went to see the new Nosferatu." So I was kind of curious, right? And she's on the other side of the fence. She absolutely loved it. She ranted and raved. "Oh, it's a great film." So I guess it's a subjective thing of what your taste is. You know, yeah. I mean, I'm like Jose. Okay, I went to see what was the last voyage of the Demeter.
Oh,
it came out about a year ago. Yeah. Now that's gothic horror. That was so much like the old Universal films.
I did love that as well.
Loved that movie. I thought that was basically a lot about suspense.
Yeah.
All right, and then just getting you on edge and paying off as it went along. All right, so again,
I like that.
I think it's also interesting because the Voyage of the Demeter was sort of critically panned, but I also really enjoyed it. And I had a friend who could not do horror movies at all. It took him to go see it, and he absolutely loved it as well because of the way it played on suspense.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's almost a lost touch today because in favor of shock and awe. All right, instead of you go back to the old what was it, Alfred Hitchcock used to say, "You've lost them the minute you show the monster."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as much as you can keep them on the edge of the seat, as long as you can go, what they're imagining is 100 times worse than what you're ever going to be able to show them. And the minute you have to do the reveal, then that's it. So the success is to build up suspense to keep people on the edge all the time.
Yeah, and I do think sort of the difference in taste comes in is like how well can you do if you are going for more of a visual shock type movie. It's the how well executed is that? Do you make it its own art form? Because I'm a fan of like slaughterhouse movies, so I like Saw, the Belko Experiment, Green Room.
But you walk into that knowing that that's what you're going to watch,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Right. I mean, if that's what your trail is about, and that's what you're claiming to be putting on the screen, then give it to people. Definitely. All right. I get that totally.
Yeah.
There's a point to me with films of gore and whatever, though, that literally cross that line to what I consider black comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And all too often, I'll find myself in the theater if I'm watching one of those films, and invariably I end up leaving the theater laughing my ass off.
Yeah.
Right?
I think also it might come down to like if you're familiar with the director's work, because I love Robert Eggers. Like when it came out, The Northman was like my movie of the year, and that movie like it has what I describe as a beautiful decapitation. So knowing that director, that's kind of what I expect from his work.
Well, I got this book. I actually just got it today because I've heard good things about it that I want to read, which is this Mark Spears Monsters series.
Okay.
Nice.
I guess it was a Kickstarter originally, and I heard a whole bunch of good things about it. This is like a third print because I understand it's very hard to get, the original ones. And I think their book 4 is coming out or something like that. But I figure I'd give it a shot, and it has that. A lot of these covers are like, the classic monster theme and stuff like that. Plus, he plays on a lot of things. Like I was looking at some of the covers for 4, and one of them is a reproduction of The Killing Joke. Only instead of the Joker, it has like the Wicked Witch or something like that. So I don't know. I'll check it out. It looks interesting.
Like it's kind of like dull, but still saturated colors and whatnot. Like I like the effect that they do when they color the art for it.
Mm-hmm.
I was also just messaged by my partner. It reminded me to go see Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim, the Lord of the Rings anime that was done by the Ghost in the Shell director.
Okay,
I heard it was pretty good.
It was really good.
Yeah, we tried to go to the movies. Our movie theater has discount nights on Tuesday, so we never ever go. So we're like, oh, okay, well, we have the next 2 streams off. And we go over there, and of course, they're like, no, it's Christmas Eve. We're not giving that. It's a holiday.
I do also have some show and tell, so I'm going to run into my other room real quick.
Okay.
Speaking of Lord of the Rings, since we were showing and telling. So I'll let you guys carry the stream for the next 30 seconds.
Yeah. So we actually ended up not going. We were like, because we were like, what do you want to watch? I don't know. And we were actually just going to, say, keep movie. We'll go give a shot and see how Craven is. And it's like, when it was full price, that was an automatic no. We didn't want to pay full price for that. I get, it's Christmas Eve, and it's awesome that people are working and all that. So, but just for that movie, we didn't want to do it.
So, if you went to go see War of the Rohirrim in theaters, the popcorn bucket, the limited edition popcorn bucket you can get, is Helm Hammerhand's hammer.
Nice.
That is wild.
So you can get a full size battle hammer for your popcorn.
Well,
I'll go to the movie just to get that.
Yeah.
Too cool. That's awesome. That's really cool.
We took my mother-in-law to go see Homestead at the theater as well. Yeah, that was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
All right.
Okay, well, don't mean to cut anyone off. However, we did just go live on the funding, the pre-order window. But also in our chat, we do have Martin Martonen, our colorist, who I mentioned that when he first came into the project, the first thing we kind of talked about was our love for Euro comics and the way that colors were played in that. And this page right here, I love the shading, the use of pastels, the color blocking, this flat, the way that things will flash different colors depending on the mood being conveyed. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Martin, how you doing? Hope you're having a great evening as well. So we are currently running. We have a pretty short goal here. $750 is our pre-order goal. If you remember Wolfhorn number 1, that was back at $2,000. So the links are all live on everywhere that I posted them. Go ahead and get yourself a pre-order. In the meantime, let's look at the foil cover, because we have really cool foil covers that Tommy does a great job printing. It's so shiny.
So, Tim, tell
Yes.
us about who did the alternate covers, because I know there's options for the different covers and all that stuff.
So, we have 3 different cover options. The cover B here, this one with the fight scene on top of the train, was done by Dean Zachary, and you can tell it kind of has that same. It looks like it has that his classic Batman style motion. If you remember any of the stuff that he did for that. Ray Fujiwara, who is our interior, did our foil as well as our primary cover number A. Cover number A. You can tell that I had a long day at work. So that's going to be our foil as well as our primary. And cover number C was done by our own Javier Lugo, who is often on our show. And this is kind of our 4 Liars in a Room style cover. And of course, Martin did the colors on all of them. And you can tell that even just the visual language done just in the palettes across all 3, you can tell that Martin really took time to kind of explore each cover and the scene it's setting, the emotions, the story it's telling. I'm just going to, as long as I work with Martin, I'm just going to continue to extol his work, because it's kind of, for a comic of this style, it's kind of everything I want in it. So
So this is issue number 2.
Yes.
How long is the series going to go, Tim?
So right now, the first volume is going to be 3 issues. I do have an outline for a second volume if we did decide to do that. I'm hoping we do. Although it wouldn't necessarily. I have the second volume that's a direct follow-up as well as a tie-in. Decided if we want to do that. Where direct sequel kind of follow more of the idea that according to British intelligence's best estimations done even like this last decade, years after the war, according to MI6's best understanding, there were 6 or 8 German spies in levels of British government that went undetected for the duration of World War II and were never found. So I'd love to tell the story of Churchill's army hunting, like engaged in this spy war in London.
Okay. Intriguing.
And then a tie-in that wouldn't necessarily follow Willard, but would be in the same universe setting, would be I'd like to do also kind of a secret history of the Warsaw Uprising, which there was a period in World War II where Russia and the Polish resistance were in communications saying that, like, if you guys rise up against the German occupation, we'll come in and we'll help you guys win, essentially. Well, what happened is the Russian army got overextended, ran out of logistics, couldn't actually commit to their plans, and there's a change in leadership that forced them to get diverted at the last second. So Poland rose up, more or less liberated the city. However, they never got the support they needed, and the German forces were able to move back in. So I'd like to tell the story of the Polish spies and resistance fighters in kind of the same style of telling the stories of sort of the secret history of spy games during World War II.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Fairly common with a lot of the Silverline books are typically 4 issues. Ron's got a pretty packed story, so he's going the other route with 6 issues on his Beyond the Stars stories. What drove you to do a 3-issue series? Was it pre-planned? Was it something that you wanted? You kind of hit like, this is all the material I think is relevant, or what drove you to do it a 3-issue series versus?
It's kind of something that happened when I was talking with Roland kind of during the editing process about. We're talking about Gothic horror, and what makes a lot of that work is like it's the suspense. But in order for suspense to pay off, there has to be the snap, and the snap has to happen at the right time, where everything collides, everything explodes, and all the tension that's been building up in the story prior to that has to be released at the right moment. Otherwise, it takes too long, or it happens too early. And so we found that with 3 issues, with issue 2 especially, we're kind of tightening the nails on Willard and running down the clock on, can they get this package recovered before the German is able to safely exfiltrate the train, and is he planting enough red herrings to pull sort of our coalition of intelligence officers away? That being, of course, Willard, Henry Bowen, who was the actual scientist who carried the magnetron and was kind of instrumental in its development, along with Henry Tizard, and the conductor of the train, Johannes de Jong. Then we hit issue 3. It just made much more sense for the kind of, after the nails to be ratcheted up for a entire issue, for that to be the moment where it's either you break out of the box or the box seals. So if I went out for another issue, I think we'd be sitting on the suspense a little too bit long, and it wouldn't make the snap as satisfying as it is in issue 3, where we get to the moment where there's some sense of resolution and then immediately understanding that you're in a protracted war. So even if you get resolution, there's going to be unforeseen complications.
Okay, I get that. Sometimes it's like, putting it in, extending it out just kind of adds a little too much to it, and you do have, you did mention before that, there's other aspects of this, maybe not directly related to Willard. Maybe the 3 issue setup was ideal for Willard's story, and then, your other pieces.
I think we're doing like the Warsaw Uprising, which I would probably be calling Wolf Hunter, the Eastern Theater, or something like that, or Hunters in the East, where there's going to be a lot of kind of, in the beginning, there's going to be lots of moments of action and explosion, then pulling back to take a breath. So that might be a case where you need 4 or 5 or 6 issues because there's going to be a lot of dynamicism in the pacing. Whereas doing something that's a little more classical spy suspense, you're kind of building up to a snap. Okay. Hopefully that all makes sense. The way that I describe pacing to people is you can think of pacing as in the same way you can think of sine, cosine, or tangent waves. And that either you're having highs and lows and you're pulling the reader throughout and giving them moments of excitement and then time to breathe, and then you're excited and then time to breathe. Or you're doing like a parabola, either that goes up high and then goes down low, which is going to be something kind of like your Macbeths or your tragedies, where you're exploding early and then just seeing all the terrible mistakes they've made descend and in the slow burn at the end. Or a spy story where you have the slow burn at the beginning that then rises into a snapping moment.
Yeah, comics have to pretty much, I think more so than text writing, be aware of what pacing's all about.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can really lose readership in a comic book really fast if all you're giving them is talking heads.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it's the kiss of death for comics.
Yeah.
And for a writer, that's an extreme challenge, because again, I'm sure you're understanding, Tim, that there's got to be an explosion someplace. There's got to be action someplace.
Yeah.
And trying to make it fit according to the storyline so it doesn't look like it's hackneyed or contrived, okay? So that I find a lot of times in pacing a story, I'm trying to work out the narrative so that I'll have a few pages of talking heads, get a rhythm going, and then get some action going. But at the same time, realizing that once the action starts to take off, how many pages do I have to do that, as opposed to balance, again, like we said, to explore characterization, explore motivation.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in an action sequence, that's a perfect opportunity with dialogue more than anything else to explore those other aspects of writing.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, were there any surprises for you in these characters as you were writing them? I mean, you go into with the set idea of this is what's going to happen, this is the story I'm going to tell. But I find a lot of times that you can still be surprised by the characters you've created.
Yeah. Well, I think in particular for 2 of the characters shown here, the particularly in the, sort of the female leads who emerge in the 2nd issue and then come in and more in the 3rd issue, that go along Willard and Johannes, sort of their own sense of agency as well as their own sense of person is what really kind of because I felt that I wanted to give them much more going forward as I continue to write them. I found that the personalities, like the spine I had written out for them, because before I write a character, I will go through and create a spine, like what's a core positive trait, what's a core negative trait, what's their motivation, and kind of everything else can be stapled to that, and you'll figure out, like, looking at kind of those 3 or 4 points, where would they choose to go in a situation. And it's always referring back to that spine. I find that the reason why these people are on this train that's kind of taking a very dangerous route during wartime also leads them to be characters of action that, as things progress, are going to end up taking sides that may or may not confound Willard and perhaps even whoever the German spy in the room is. One that may even be the German spy. I don't know if Roland did this intentionally, but I think it's also kind of a fun move. We're just on our funding page, we have the fight scene at the start, of course, on the cover, and our key art is the body at the end. So of course, it's a slow burn issue, right? We did that to avoid talking heads, but it's still a slow burn. It's the four liars in a room trying to figure out who was who. And so to tell that kind of story, you want to do it slowly. However, you end on the body and start on the fight. If we're showing you the body in the fight, then your job as the reader is to figure out where's the lie.
All right.
And I will say this is also as the writer. We already got 2 pre-orders, so thank you everyone who already did that. I'll say also as the person who wrote this, I will say that I'm not afraid to lie to the audience because I learned that. Who was it? I have his book. Dang it, I have his book. All right, Benjamin Piercy. I really like his take on writing suspense. Is that if you're writing a thriller, if you're writing suspense as a writer, don't be afraid to lie to the audience. They'll thank you for it later.
Pretty much. All right.
There we go. So we're already at 2 pre-orders. Thank you, everyone's got. Mainly stop by comics. Mainly stop by to see Captain Ryan steering the airship. Yes, thank you, Argo. So yeah, that's kind of my.
Captain Ron. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
I'm 98 episodes behind, but I started watching the airship podcast you guys were doing today.
Nice.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate that. It's crazy stuff. Rob and I have a blast doing it. It's using the show to promote what we do. But I think the best compliment the show ever got, which made us both laugh, is a few people came on board and started watching it, and one of them made a comment about it's like seeing you guys at a con. Because that's what Rob and I are all about when we're at a con. I mean, we just sit there and interact with our fans and the people that stop over and talk to us about what we do and whatever. And it's stuff we love. We have a blast doing it, and we're clowning about it all the time and joking. And that was the impetus for starting the whole, bad joke of the show, where each of us tells a bad joke, at the beginning, at the end of the show, to get people to laugh a little bit, and then, hopefully appreciate what we're doing, and again, it's another way for us to thank all the writers and artists who helped make the company what it is. I mean, this is a 15-year history now. 2 guys who wanted to bring back pulps, and as of now, we've got like 300 titles in our Amazon catalog. So
nice,
something working,
awesome.
Something working. What can I say? So yeah. And we were able to tap into our, our colleagues, our comic book colleagues, because I mentioned that earlier in one of my first, shows with you guys about the fact that connection between pulps and comics. And so when the idea came to start Airship 27 to do, pulp novels and anthologies, the first people Rob and I went to were all our comic book pals, artists and writers, and said, "You guys want to do pulps?" And they were as aware as we were of that whole history and that whole connection. So we've recruited a lot of past comic book creators in our books, which is a blast for us. And they're having a ball stretching their own creative muscles and doing some of these, great golden age pulp heroes. There you go.
That's cool. Yeah, I have to go back and start watching some of the earlier episodes, but
Please do. It amazes me that stuff's going to stay up there, just like this show. I mean, it's like you can go back anytime and see, early episodes. I don't know how, when you guys started doing this, was it visual? Because when we started doing the Airship 27 podcast, it was just audio. We were just doing audio podcasts. And then the whole video thing came along, and then, okay, so then we're on air. And a few little things, like basically looking at our notes instead of looking at the camera. And our fans, hit us up on social media about, hey, look at the camera, okay? We want to see your face, not the top of your head all the time. Okay, sure. Yeah. Just like that.
I know when I joined the Silverline on Tuesday show, I actually went back and watched a few of the shows before I joined, just to kind of get a feel. Okay, what's the groove? You know what I mean? What's the vibe on here? Like, where might I be able to help make things better? Well, not better, but to do my part, I guess. You know what I mean? Where can I do my part?
Contribute, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when Roland started, Silverline and this whole thing, and eventually started doing the podcast, he hit all of us up to help out, and at that time was prior to the bad internet setup I had here, and so I really felt bad that I couldn't volunteer, that I couldn't get on board. And as you guys know, at the end of last year on Thanksgiving time, those things finally approved here. That I got a decent modem, thanks to Verizon, was able to hook on, able to do shows reliably that I can depend on, and again make a commitment to do something. Got back to Roland and said, hey, I'm available if you need me. And he got back to me and said, hey, how about doing the Tuesday night show? And hey, I said I was available, whatever you need me to do. And so that was the idea. I mean, his come back to me, and I don't know, I take it for what it is. He goes, I've got a bunch of young guys there, so I need an old fart to level things out, So you guys got the old fart. What can I say,
Well, I mean, we appreciate the experience and the kind of context you bring to everything, since not only do you have kind of the veterancy in it, but also the amount of time media and art you've taken in, and kind of your grown in depth of taste.
Hey, again, like I said, I'm impressed with what you guys are doing, and constantly. All right, and it's exciting to see that comics are still vibrant, that they still attract talented people like yourselves, and that really makes me feel great. So again, glad to be a part of the team. Believe me.
All right. And thank you for Rob Wilson for the shout out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for other people in the industry who also liked kind of all this fun, nerdy, geeky stuff we do, it wouldn't be it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. I mean, we're there because of our colleagues and our fans. All right. I mean, it's one of the things. This is fun to do. This is an added little bonus, because most of the times, as you guys already know, okay, you get into doing some kind of, creative comic book work, and it's basically a lonely occupation, because you do it by yourselves in your office, your room, whatever. All right. And up until the age of the internet and video shows like this, the only socializing you ever got to do was going to cons. And that's where you met other people and got to enjoy and interchange your thoughts about what you love and what you share. The internet and videoing now is streaming. All this stuff has made that able to expand, to get us out there, to talk to more of our fans and more of our fellow creators out there. I'd hazard to guess that there's probably tons of people out there who love comics, who love movies, who love pulps and whatever, and don't have anybody in their neighborhood or their town to share those kind of things with. So kind of knocking on wood and hoping that, they find our show, they find the other two shows that Silverline does, plus all the other dozens of great comic book video podcasts that are out there. All right, I think it's expanding the audience. It's expanding the fandom, and that's a positive thing right off the bat.
Right.
Absolutely. So we kind of talked about this in our own hand before the show, but now sharing this with you, the audience. With the new year, I kind of went back and did some restructuring to how I run the show to see if we can't tighten it up. We're allowed to promote Wolf on the Right. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. I've been posting that to kind of all my social media all day, so for the last couple of days. So, but yeah, we're kind of seeing if we can't tighten it up to something closer to an hour. It might still run over, but that way kind of gives us a little more tightness in our runtime. And if we have stuff left over, we can carry that over the next week.
There you go.
Yeah, but before we're about 5-6 minutes left, and then if people want to know what all I was doing during our catch up to promote my comic, we can kind of do that like in a post show, like going on for 20 minutes past our end time. But before Ron and I don't know if anyone wants us to leave at our mark, but I want to get from you guys. Obviously, the next World War II story that people should read is Wolf Hunter. But what are some of your favorite World War II or spy stories, books, movies, anything like that?
Oh, I mean, for me, there's a lot of them. I always enjoyed Alistair MacLean's World War II thrillers that eventually became films. And some of those are classic, like The Guns of Navarone and Where Eagles Dare, with Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood. Those are two of my favorite, spies, commando type raids. And there was another one that came out called Operation Crossbow, which was about British commandos who basically went after a factory that was making heavy water for the Germans. So those, I'd say, are the top three commando type World War II thrillers that I really enjoyed. Guns and Navarone is a classic, anyways. It's really well done.
That's a classic. Yeah. I know that one was. I believe that one was one of the favorites for my father-in-law. I just hands down, like anything that had to do with World War I or World War II. If my father-in-law were still here, I could probably just say, "Dad, name one," and he would like just this. One. I said one. More modern, I think. I like. Was it Fury? I think Fury is a World War II movie, just about a tank. And it goes.
Yeah, right.
I love that one played out. I just love that movie. Is great. It's one of my go-tos. There's another one with Jude Law in it, where there were snipers and whatnot.
Right.
I can't remember
the Russian sniper.
Yeah.
The duel between him and a German sniper. Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
It all took place in like between two fallen buildings and whatnot. It was really cool. But yeah, military stuff aren't necessarily, like I said, my forte. I do love westerns, hands down. Love westerns. I love gothic horror. But yeah, I would sit there and watch a movie with my father-in-law.
For me, it's like, I'm trying to think. I haven't watched them in years. Was it the Magnificent Seven? Which was the military one with it had like Telly Savalas and a lot of the big name stars at the time. I'm blanking on the name.
Dirty Dozen.
The Dirty Dozen.
Yes.
Jim Brown, right? Lee Marvin, Charles Bronson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, classic World War II film. Oh yeah, definitely.
I love that, and then I also love the. Actually, it's an earlier time period. One of the ones that stands out for me on a military movie is Bridge on the River Kwai.
Yep.
Nice.
Totally.
I love that movie. Yeah, so those are kind of the ones I think of.
All right.
Cool.
And in regards to comics, someone I think in our chat mentioned Toth and Joe Kubert, but I
Yes.
remember Haunted Tank.
Nice.
Oh,
Well,
fantastic. Look, that the Sergeant Rock of the Army at War, Kubert did, okay, which to me is still perhaps the greatest war comic ever done. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these comics, which, were basically debuting after World War II, were all written and illustrated by veterans. These guys were over there. They came back home and started, getting back to their careers in comics. And the comics, these war comics they produced were classic. And from a lot of them from their own experience and what they'd seen.
Absolutely. I'd say I'm gonna throw out a non-fiction book just because the story is so kind of wild. But the Battle of Arnhem, the deadliest airborne operation of World War II, by Anthony Beaver, which, if the name sounds familiar, he's kind of one of the most renowned historians for World War II in terms of the European theater. But the actual Battle of Arnhem was kind of the last big operation for the British Paratrooper Regiment and that was kind of where they got wiped out. It was the bridge too far in Market Garden. They had dropped into Arnhem, and the U.S. armor was not able to get that far. And so they held out while surrounded, and no way of getting out. And a lot of Allied commanders are known for kind of giving very hard and very cool one-liners during World War II. Of course, everyone remembers Nuts. But the commander of the British Paras called up their H command and just said, "Out of ammunition, fighting to the last man, God save the king," and hung up the radio.
Whoa. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you want to, they got their nickname, the Red Devils, from Operation Ham and Jam, but I think the Battle of Arnhem is kind of where you learn the mystique of the name, the Red Devil.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. The guys just who would, a lot of them wore helmets, but a lot of them refused to wear their actual service helmet in the field. They just wore their uniform beret because that was respect to the uniform and the regiment they were in. So, if you want to learn about some cool British paratrooper history, I recommend that book.
Awesome.
Yeah. Let's see. Wilson, damn right, exactly. Kirby as a veteran and Desert Deferring behind Commandos. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Got to carry on to the end. Fascination and praise the Lord.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, cool. Well, this has been that Silverline show on Tuesday. Thank you, everyone who has already placed a pre-order for Wolf Hunter number 2. We are at 2 backers so far, and that runs for 27 days. So you have until February 4th to go ahead and get your pre-order for this World War II spy story. At some point, maybe later this year, we'll have an episode here where we have myself and Rob Wilson, Davis, talking about Dracula, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
Excited.
All right. But we'll be back next week with a subject that is in my phone calendar that I did not forget, and we'll pull up right now. Talking about New Year's resolutions, how to commit to your comic making goals.
Ouch.
Yeah.
We're going to ask for a lot of grace on that, guys.
I think I have something coming up.
Yeah. That's part of why we educate, right? Is we're also teaching ourselves at the same time.
Amen.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about our own comic goals for this year, plans we're doing to make sure we complete them, as well as hopefully give you some tips, tricks, or things inspire you to also complete your. If this is 2025, and maybe this is the year that you make your first comic, and hopefully we can give you some good advice on doing that. Check out Wednesday, Wham, and Silver Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, those respective days. We'll be back 8 p.m. Pacific time next week.
Tomorrow is supposed to be a pretty cool continuation on the whole is a hot dog a sandwich, and they're doing that this week, so it should be a fun one. I was lucky enough to
Wednesday,
join.
We all fight.
Yes.
Yeah, I was the last time I was lucky enough to jump on and be a part of that. So it was a lot of fun. So you should check it out. I don't know if Martin's still on, but if he is, I'm sure he'll have some good stuff.
Very good.
Right.
Yeah, I guess last little bit of housekeeping. I'm going to be on 3 podcasts, 2 on Friday, 1 on Saturday. I don't have all their names in front of me, but on this Blue Sky link right here, you can follow me on Blue Sky, and I will
Other side.
purchase them as they.
There you
The other way.
Right, I will talk about them as they come up, so you can follow me on Blue Sky there. But yeah, unless we don't have any other housekeeping, I believe that's the end of our show for tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, it was fun to start 2025 with you amigos. Thanks for it all. And as we wrap it up,
There we go.
Silverline.
Make mine Silverline.
Hi, I'm Greg Horn. Make mine Silverline.